In this video, we begin adding structure to the wing. We will start with the spars, and I'm going to base the structure off of this cutaway drawing, which you can look at closer detail. You can find it on Flight Global if you don't have a copy already. flightglobal.com. Go to cutaways, search for Lear or Learjet, and it'll come up. I think it's actually Lear 24A is what the cutaway is. But anyways, it's a multi-spar design, and I entered a sketch on the XY plane to do a similar thing to what we did with the frames, where we drew the lines just on the plane and then projected them up onto the surface to get guidelines or outlines of the structure. And I also have all the movable surface projections in there as well. And we'll kind of work to mesh the two together so that the structure ends up in a place that works with those surfaces. So here I'm going from the center line of the plane past the wingtip with these lines. You would probably want to crank the spars once you get to the point where the wing and the fuselage line up. So you would want to cut the spar there and then have it go perpendicular or running parallel to a fuselage station line, and then pick up the other wing, and then it'll go back at an angle. But you can start with this and cut it later. So here I'm adding some guides so I can evenly space the spars. I'm going to say the last spar is coincident with the leading edge of the flap. We'll leave a small gap for now, at least 1 inch. So I have this line there, that constrained line, that's 82 point whatever inches long. That's just going to serve as a reference length from the leading edge of the wing till the last spar so that I can evenly space them. I'm going to do the same thing on the trailing edge. Here I've created a bunch of points. I did the same thing near the root, where I just made the points coincident to the spar line and this imaginary chord line. And so I just used a constraint that was a formula. For the first gap, I divided that total length by 8, because there would be 8 gaps. And now I am just constraining these gaps to be the same as the first. And actually it should be divided by 9, because there are 9 gaps. And it certainly helps to have them in the correct order before you go about constraining them, and we'll do the same thing here. 9 gaps. And we'll divide up that dimension there. The span station of this chord line that I'm using is completely arbitrary. So anyway, continuing ahead, skipping ahead. Oh, this top dimension should be a reference. So now if I move this back spar, it automatically updates the rest of the spars. And I'm going to edit the movable surfaces a little bit, starting with the spoiler, so that these edges are run along the spar. If you try and project the spar, you're going to get an infinite loop of going back and forth, trying to constrain the two, so that's why I'm just freehanding it. So now projecting this up to the wing, we will only get projection lines. Make sure you uncheck the nearest solution so you get on both sides. But you notice since we have the cutouts there, we only get projection lines on the actual wing surface, not the moving surfaces, which is good because that's what we want. And then we will disassemble those, making each piece an individual piece. And then in order to make these spars, we'll have to fill them in, and to do that requires us to close out each of these sections. And I'm just adding a line there for just in case, even though there was already a line from the closing out edge of the wing. And now I'm going to drop that aileron back a little bit. And get rid of that line. So this way we get that second to last bar running all the way across instead of getting cut off by the aileron. And that update really didn't give us what we wanted, so I'm just going to reproject or redisassemble the projection. So that's the problem with the disassembly tool, is it only really works the first time. You can't really auto update with the disassemble. And close out that last edge of the back spar for where the spoiler gap is. And then we'll just fill in each of the spar contours. And I just messed up clicking on lines there. There was no real problem. And so there we have a bunch of spar surfaces. You can make these thick if you want, but other than that, that's it.